I'm Sonia Luna, CEO and founder of Aviva Spectrum, an internal audit and compliance consulting firm headquartered in sunny Los Angeles, California. I'm also a speaker and writer on topics like COSO 2013, SOX 404, quality assessment reviews, internal auditing, and related topics. Today's interview is with John Livingston. John Livingston is a Senior IT Auditor at Medical Mutual. He has over 20 years of experience in accounting, financial analysis, internal audit, enterprise risk management, and IT operations. Previously, John worked for 8 years in the IT operations of Rockwell Automation, which is a Fortune 500 company. He has extensive experience in designing, implementing, and managing ITIL processes, including IT change, problem, incident, and configuration management. John is a Certified Information System Auditor. For those of you who keep forgetting, it's CISA. He also has a Lean Six Sigma Black Belt and holds certifications in ITIL and COBIT. Welcome, John.
Hello, Sonia. Thanks for having me on your show.
We are really excited to have you. I know you've been on the speaking circuit, and we were very fortunate to kind of nab a little bit of your time. And one of the things I wanted to kind of get input from you is some of the things I've noticed, which is in recent major headlines, we're noticing a lot of bad PR, basically, surrounding cybersecurity. And I wanted to get your thoughts on what should a compliance professional do, really, to stay on top of this, ever-changing set of IT risks.
Well, Sonia, you're right that you don't have to look further than the news headlines to see all the data breaches that are occurring lately at major banks and retailers. My suggestion is when you hear about these headlines, try and find a more technical write-up of what happened in an IT or IT security trade journal. Then do some follow-up to make sure whatever vulnerabilities were described in the article, make sure that those don't apply to your organization. And then finally, after that, it's a good idea to update your chief audit executive on what you found in case the audit committee has questions.
Kind of like creating a bridge from the technical stuff into the practical stuff that, the internal audit groups need. And I really like the fact that you've mentioned that the major headlines hitting, let's say, the Huffington Post or maybe the Wall Street Journal, they're just kind of gleaming, right, the big picture stuff. And some of it's, let's face it, it's to sell papers, right, or it's to sell subscriptions. So the meat of the source of the issue, you really do need to look at those trade journals to find out, well, what exactly happened at the point of sale system, right? Was it a timing issue, a batch processing, error? And those trade journals really are going to give you a bigger source of what really went wrong in those breaches, and not something that's, let's say, put out in Wall Street Journal. It creates a buzz, but the meat, you really do need to dig deeper into something more technical to make sure that it's not going to happen to your organization, and then create that bridge of communication, to the audit executives, which I'm glad that you're a big fan of bridging that, because sometimes we see two silos. We've got the financial type auditors, and then we've got the IT ops people saying, we're busy supporting systems and so forth. But we do need that collaboration to make best of breed in terms of our organizations.
Yes, and getting that the buy-in from the chief audit executive and the audit committee is so very important, because whatever initiatives your IT department comes up to bridge those gaps, if there are any, they're going to need some sort of support in order to get resources and capital. So it's very important to communicate. Yeah,
and you get way better buy-in when they really get a good grasp of what the problem is or how it occurred. And what's interesting, I've noticed, is some of these chief audit executives do have some IT audit staff, but give me your take of why should an auditor learn how to audit the IT processes of incident, problem, configuration, and change management?
Well, Sonia, executives are increasingly asking internal audit to not just provide assurance services, but to also have an improvement orientation, including process improvement and the sharing of best practices. Now, most IT people are great at the technology, but not so great on the process and control side. That's where we come in as auditors. We can help the IT department improve their processes. As an example, one organization could have the best IT security system, but that could be undone with one authorized change. So too often IT departments focus too much on the technology and not enough on the process and controls. So as an auditor who is knowledgeable about incident, problem, configuration, and change management, you could be seen by the IT department as helping them achieve a vision of where they want to be next year or a few years down the road, rather than someone who is just constantly writing up audit findings on them. So regardless of how your internal audit department is currently viewed within the organization, that process improvement mindset could go a long way in improving the reputation of internal audit.
Right, and you know, doing what internal auditors sometimes have problem doing sometimes is the value add stuff, you know, and not understanding the actual process of it. It ends up being a pretty big deal. And you're right, the IT department loves to get a shiny new little toy or piece of technology.
Yes.
And they love to play with it, but when you get to, like, the owner's manual, right, like what this thing is actually capable of and not capable of, you know, they might gleam over that quick start guide, but they never get into the meat of the actual manual. And so it is up to the, you know, internal audit department to kind of get together and go, well, wait, let's take a step back at the 50,000-foot level and figure out what exactly is the process here, and what's the problem that this added technology is really trying to solve, and how do you independently and objectively prove that model out, you know, that it actually is doing what it's, you know, created or intended to do, and putting our, you know, critical thinking hat on and evaluating those pieces of technology, not just for the shiny new thing that, you know, is the latest and greatest or has great marketing buzz, but looking at the process of how it's going to be implemented and leveraged within, you know, the organization. Well, this has been a very insightful interview, John, and I'm confident our listeners got a lot of value hearing, you know, about IT risks and more importantly, the ways to mitigate them and those, you know, successful activities that should happen. So I want to thank you again for coming on our Compliance Expert Radio Show.
All right. Well, Sonia, it's been my pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Okay. This is Sonia Luna, CEO and founder of Aviva Spectrum, signing off.